G'day guys, you're listening to the Aussie Devs podcast, episode 16, a show where we talk about what's happening in the world of Australian game development. I'm your host Glenn, and joined as usual by Eric. And before we start, I just wanted to shout out to Tim Witt, who produced our new intro music you just heard. So Tim is a DJ and producer based out of Adelaide, doing some awesome stuff, and in 2017 released an album, and I'm probably going to stuff this up, Tim, so if you're listening, I apologise, called Geisel. But yeah, he kindly produced this intro for us, and if you guys out there listening need any audio done for your game or project, check him out on Facebook. It's Tim Witt, W-H-I-T-T. We'll link to his Facebook, and I will do a shout out on our Twitter. Today we're chatting to Gustav from Lost Goblin, the guys who are producing Goblins of Elderstone. Thanks for coming on the show, Gustav.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for your time.
We saw you in PAX 2017, and that was awesome. You guys were showcasing Goblins of Elderstone there. So basically, we're just gonna have another chat with you about that.
Goblins of Elderstone.
Yeah. It was nice for you guys to come around to the booth. PAX is always a lot of fun. So it was our second showcase. We were there the year before when we did the Kickstarter. So this time around it was a little bit less stressful. And we could enjoy it a bit more, so that was cool.
Yeah, you guys are veterans.
The most successful Kickstarter in New Zealand, is that correct?
For video games, yeah. It's, I think that's still the case. Yeah, I think that's still the case. There's been some board games that have been more successful. So not games in general, but video games specifically. I believe it's still the most successful campaign from New Zealand. So that's pretty cool.
Considering how many things are on Kickstarter, I mean, there's always that, you hear about different people saying, oh, should I kickstart, should I not kickstart? But, I mean, obviously you guys had a lot of success with it.
We did, and it was certainly difficult. And Kickstarter has changed a lot of the last 3 or 4 years. I'm a big backer of projects, so I really love the platform. I like that people are funding things for other people, and it removes certain people from the conversation. It makes that nicer and more honest and true. But at the same time, you don't get the same kind of money and support, and you have a lot of people that you have to answer to and keep happy. And it's definitely changed. It's become a lot more difficult. The platform itself has pretty much turned into a pre-order service. So that's why things like board games and miniatures do really, really well there now, because it's a known quantity. You're getting a physical asset. The thing that you're backing has already, in most cases, been created. It's already been designed. It's already been prototyped. It's finished, essentially. Yeah,
you've got an actual product there that you can hold and actually trial out, instead of something coming in the future which may or may not succeed.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's just a matter of scale. So just going into production, and then Kickstarter is great for that, because at the end of the campaign you know exactly how many units you need to produce, and you know what the cost of producing those units are. So that's why those things do really well, and that makes it more difficult for video games, definitely. So yeah, it's changing.
Did you have a sort of sense of trepidation, I suppose, once the Kickstarter was sort of approved and everything, in terms of it's real now and we have to produce something? I mean, I'm sure we're going to.
Yeah, no. Look, our goal was to make the thing anyway. And if the Kickstarter had not succeeded, we would have done it differently, obviously. We would have potentially looked for publishers or looked for more investors, or we would have to have found money elsewhere, and that would have taken time away from production, and it would have potentially. There's a chance it might have stopped the development of the game. I don't think so, but we definitely needed the money at the time, and we got it. So it helped us, move to the next point where we are now. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm so glad you got that happening and got it sorted out. I know money's a big issue for a lot of these indie devs, and keeping that flowing, just getting it started. So with that money in hand, Goblins of Elderstone, came along. It was progressed a lot quicker than usual. Can you give us a bit of a rundown as to what it's about?
Yeah, sure. So Goblins of Elderstone is a goblin tribe simulator. You are the ruler of a goblin tribe, and if you treat the goblins well, they will generally behave and do as they're told. But if you don't, they will burn down the village and murder each other. So that's our like one-liner. That's our sort of pitch summary. But yeah, essentially it's a city building game and a very light 4X game. So primarily you build a village, you look after the goblins, you give them jobs. Lots of challenges. So there's sort of a survival tone to it. Every winter is really harsh. And the winters become increasingly harsh. There's this sort of concept of winter is coming. The undead attack. The wolves get hungrier. The bears arrive. So every winter there's more challenges and enemies to face. And winter itself is cold, and your goblins will freeze to death if there isn't enough firewood.
Yes, they will.
So there's a lot of challenges that you constantly have to face, and it's difficult. It's meant to be quite difficult in that way. And you know, success through failure and fun through failure and retrying different strategies. And then there's a 4X layer. So once you've kind of gotten the hang of running the village, there's a world map, and you can engage with the world map by sort of sending out goblin raiding parties and finding dungeon locations and raiding those, and that's sort of the next tier of resources that you need to get, because the level itself will not support a very large village and won't have enough resources. So the idea is to push the player to then go and explore and interact with the world.
Yeah, I mean, I was playing it the other day after you guys shot us through the key, and that first winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, hang on, I can't collect any more food.
Yeah.
And they all just starved.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, they started freezing to death, and I was kind of just like, didn't realise how much you had to sort of micromanage that winter season. It was really, it was good. It was really intense.
No, that's good. I mean, the current build is not very balanced, and we're testing stuff and so on. But the next few months is all going to be about balancing those different threats and hazards and stuff. So we recently we just updated the game internally in our beta, and we've introduced diseases. So when the goblins die, there's a chance for them to decompose and spread disease if you don't deal with it in time. So just another fun thing for the goblins to deal with. So it's pretty good.
You really like making it challenging for the player, and I know a lot of strategy games they add a little bit of challenge, but this is like a lot of things combined. So you can have a lot of games just into one, which is amazing. I like the fact that there's that dungeon raiding or challenges after you've built your civilization, your little town.
Yeah,
it just adds another. It's like a limitless end game kind of thing.
Yeah, originally when we thought about what kind of game we want to make, we were playing a lot of Banished, and we really like that game, and I think it's very well balanced, and it's a superb effort by a very small team. I believe it was one guy, but we felt like there was no end game. You get to about 500 villages or something thereabouts, and you've kind of solved it. Like you've figured out how the pieces work, and it loses all its challenge, and then you lose interest in the game. At least that was our feeling. And so what we wanted is a village builder for the most part, but then to have a sort of more varied and interesting and challenging end game. And like I said, at the moment it's not balanced very well, but all these challenges about starvation and freezing and disease and stuff, this will be spread out a lot better than what it is at the moment. So it'll be introduced kind of slowly. A RimWorld is a really good example of a game that we try and emulate in terms of like that increasing difficulty and challenge.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know you were talking about teams with Vanish as well as small teams. It's just the four of you guys developing this game.
Yeah, roughly. We've been different sizes at different times. At one point we were 6 people full time, for a short period. And then at the moment we're 2 people full time and a few contractors finishing some stuff. So yeah, no, we ebb and swell as we need as the project progresses.
Yeah, so you I remember catching you up at PAX there, and yeah, you were saying that you were there full time, part time kind of thing, and there was another with you full time there. So yeah, 2-person working full time on this is an amazing achievement so far, from what I've seen as well. Just the videos and hearing the feedback from what Glenn's been doing with the game. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's been a monumental effort. We're in our 3rd year of production, and my programmer Roy has just been a champion, and it's been him and me for the majority of the last year and a bit. And you know, we've had some fantastic art done by Moritz, who also does his own game called Gravity. So we've got some really talented people that have worked really hard on this. So you know, there's been a lot of people that have helped along the way as well. You know, they'll do bits of pieces of here and there as favors, or you know, they'll come in for a short contract or something. So it's been a big effort by lots of, you know, individuals. But yeah, the core has been like myself and Roy and you know, 1 or 2 other people that have helped. So it's been interesting.
You yourself and Roy obviously come from a gaming background as well, in game production.
Yep.
And you both worked for Gameloft at one stage, didn't you?
Yeah, so I worked at Gameloft, what's it now, almost 3 years ago. It's 3 years ago actually, more than 3 years. So I worked at Gameloft. Roy was working at Gameloft at the time as well, and some of the other people that have helped have at times worked. I think anyone that works in New Zealand's game industry has either worked for She or Pickpock or Gameloft. So it was a pretty big. It was a pretty big studio. It was like over 200 people. Well, it was about 200 people at one stage. And I was a senior producer there, a principal producer. It's a small industry, so it's probably about 1/3 of the games industry worked there. So.
Yeah, I mean, about almost a year ago now, I interviewed the Dinosaur Polo Club guys.
Yep.
With and it's the same sort of story. She and Pickpock out there.
Yep. Yeah, that's Wellington. So they've created the Wellington game scene, and Gameloft sort of created the Auckland one in some way. So
a bit of friendly competition there.
Yeah, a little bit. It wasn't so friendly at one stage, I think.
Oh, so it sounds like, Gustav, you've got a lot of experience developing games and whatnot. Your background, you enjoyed. We've been stalking you on like LinkedIn.
All right.
Magic the Gathering, everything, like the nerding out, which is what we tend to do every now and then. So
you know, I've been into games for a very long time, and designing games, and all the way back to, like, you know, doing Dungeons and Dragons, and I still try an RPG. I haven't had time in the last year or 2 because just Goblins consumes all my free time. But Dungeons and Dragons definitely is a big part of my life. Pathfinder is one. If you could see on the webcam now, which you can't, but behind me is like a big bookshelf just filled with RPG books and Magic the Gathering cards. So my love for goblins comes from that as well. So in Magic, I always built and I still have a vintage goblin deck. It's good fun. I love the little creatures. So I've always kind of geeked out pretty hard.
Just got back into playing Magic since I was like 15.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been the same sort of deal, like, you know, red tribal decks and and then just got back into a commander deck and trying to get back into all that again. It's been real fun.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I enjoy Magic a lot. Yeah, I've spent way too much money on Magic over the years.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah, the original loot boxes.
That's it. You've just played so many games as well. I was looking through your list of like inspiration for for Goblins of Elderstone, and I was just reminiscing about the Warcraft 3 days or the Warcraft series and stuff like that, and I could kind of see a little bit of it, but there's just so much more to Goblins of Elderstone. So I just wrote a little blurb about the details, even just the day-night sequences and your building sequences and stuff like that. You've got elevated platforms for defenses. I don't want to spoil too much about the game. It's just so much packed into that package. It's
you're doing a great job selling it.
Free?
What's that?
Are you just letting everything from your brain or the creativity just spill out onto this game?
No, I mean the scope certainly has changed over time, but from the beginning we had a pretty clear idea of what we wanted to make. I think the original plan for it was a little bit smaller, but then we had some investments very early on, and we got a team of people assigned to the project, and the scope increased a little bit. I think the nothing we've designed or have tried to achieve is sort of like individually crazy. It's nothing we can't achieve. Like, we were very strict about certain things, like we're not going to do multiplayer, we're not going to worry about consoles. Like, there's certain things that we were very strict on, and we made a lot of smart choices about being able to achieve this game as a small team. For example, we barely use any textures, so everything is vertex painted. So the entire art pipeline is pretty streamlined. It's just making the models and animating them. We don't worry too much about textures and dealing with that side of the art production. So the art style as well is, it's that kind of low polyfaceted look, which is a lot faster to produce.
I don't lose anything by going that way either.
Yeah, no, it
definitely haven't lost anything.
Yeah, it was a stylistic choice, and I'm a little bit like, at the time when I chose it, which is like over 3 years ago, there wasn't that many games that did it. I kind of saw that this was going to become something popular, and now. It's been a few years on, and so many games are choosing that style. So it's a little bit disappointing that we didn't get it out sooner. But we've had to shift the goalposts a few times, just because financially, it's tough to get a game done. I work full time, at different studios, and have to make the time, weekends and part time, and we've had some, there's been some problems, internally with production and tech and stuff. So, it slows things down, and it gets difficult. But we're very close now. We're very, very close. We were going to release before the December sale window of Steam. But we've now got a partner that's working with us, that's taking care of like the the marketing and the PR, and
very nice.
Yeah, so we need to develop that a little bit further before we release, and that's why we've been pushing the wish list pretty hard, because we need more people to click that wish list button, and we need a big wish list so that when we launch on early access, more people see it on that first day. So.
Yeah, that was my question, because I remember seeing it at PAX, and I think we got a November date for early access out of that. But yeah, that explains it all if you've got a new partner along with you. Yeah. And I guess it allows you more time to polish. That's
right, yeah. So like we really believed at the time when we went to PAX, before we went to PAX, we spoke to everyone involved, and we're like, okay, end of November, that's mid to end November, that's when we want to release, and everyone was on board. But then when we were at PAX, a couple of things happened. We had a few pretty bad crashes, and some bugs that popped up. When you have 100 people every day playing the game, you start seeing some of the more hidden things, and there were some definite problems, like with the camera, and there was some crashes and some performance issues that concerned us. And at the same time, as we came back from PAX, it was the marketing, the partner that we're working with, felt like, we needed a stronger strategy to launch, and they recently rebuilt our website. And there was we had to have a very serious conversation about moving the date again, which I really didn't want to do. And a couple of people were really upset about it. Because up to that point, we've been very good with our communication ahead of time. Like when we needed to move a date, I would let people know months in advance, look, this is the decision and this is why we're moving it. So that was quite disappointing. It was a big knock to us as well. Our motivation was like pretty low because we'd worked really hard up to PAX to get it ready. So, you lose a bit of steam and you lose a bit of motivation, and it's pretty tough emotionally. But the truth is the game needed a bit more time, and what people don't realize is we can't move it by 1 or 2 weeks, because then you move into the December window and you can't release an indie game in the December window of Steam, because all the AAAs are releasing games. There's the Christmas sales, there's all that stuff going on, like you get buried. So the next window is after that, and even like we're now aiming mid-January, and that's actually still at the end of that Christmas window. So it's a bit soon, it's a bit early, but it's the next earliest opportunity we have to launch. And people get upset and they don't quite understand, like, oh, if you have one bug, why is it delayed by 2 months? Well, there's more to it than just the time. So yeah, it's
wow,
true.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Gustav, because it's something that not a lot of people recognize or realize. And you were just saying, like, people keep questioning, why is it taking an extra 2 months? But yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what this podcast is about as well. It's kind of getting insight from the developer's life. So
oh, cool. No, that's good. It's useful.
Simple,
yeah, I think a lot of people, a lot of people are uninformed, and that's, obviously it's not their fault that they don't work in the industry. How can they be? But yeah, you read some comments like Steam reviews or Reddit comments or things on Twitter, and yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you invest your 3 years of your life, every free minute of your time into something, and it's not like I want to delay the game or I want to make a certain decision. It's sometimes it's a hard decision that you have to make, and it's usually the right one for the product and the right one for the game. So,
isn't it? There's a quote by one of the Japanese developers. It's like a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad.
Yeah, it's Miyamoto. Yeah, the designer of Mario. Yeah, it's very true. It's very true.
As much as exactly. You look at some of the AAAs that I know it's a completely different field, but your big games that are pumped out year after year, every year on the year they produce them, and they're just, they're not.
They have deadlines.
Good.
Don't start talking about Mass Effect.
Yeah.
That was a big example of that. But exactly. It's a hard decision, and I think you guys, I'm still want to play it.
Yeah, that's good.
I think also, like we've talked about it before, but on the podcast, marketing isn't something that as a developer you potentially don't know a lot about. It's, you may have a Twitter or some of the social media and a website and be on Greenlight, but there's a lot more to it, I think. And even just then, like, if you hadn't have had this partner, you guys may still have released it at the same date you were intending to. So it's just interesting to hear that side.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And marketing, yeah, like you say, like as an indie, you don't necessarily know that much about it, and it's crazy being an indie. Like I think I tweeted the other day, because I'm busy making the trailer for the new trailer for the launch, and I'm not working on the game a lot of the time, and it's like I think I said something like being indie is 90% of the time is about not making games, because you're always doing something else that's related to the game, but as an indie you have to do everything. You have to do the PR, the marketing, accounting, web dev, answer people on Facebook, customer service. There's so much other stuff that takes up your time, that you don't actually get to work on the game as much as you'd like, which again delays things. So every time somebody complains, I have to go and spend an hour and talk, reply to that person and talk, and that's an hour I could be working on something on the game. So it's a self-perpetuating thing, and I think that's the place for where publishers come in and partners. Like we've recently signed with a partner. They've been really great, and they've taken a lot of that pressure off, and they're doing a lot of the marketing, and they're building a strategy for us, which is much better than what I could do, and that's ultimately better for the game. So it's a different wheelhouse.
I mean, we at PAX spoke to some of the lecturers from the different universities there, and they mentioned a similar thing in that a lot of the students who are coming out now, they want to release their game, and they're reluctant to sign on with a publisher or anything like that because they want to produce it themselves, or they're worried about the profits and margins going to take a hit because they have to share it with a third party. But I think in some instances there's definitely benefits to it.
Yeah, I mean, again, every situation is different. We definitely once we had a successful Kickstarter, we got inundated with requests from publishers to publish our game, and because you're successful now, so now we want to talk to you. So which is fine, is fair. But definitely there's a lot of vultures out there. There's a lot of people that they want an arm and a leg, and they're willing to give very little or not be specific about what they're going to give you. So in some cases it is better to do it on your own. But in our case, we signed with somebody that was very reasonable and have got experience, and they're game developers themselves, and they were very conscientious of what we need, and they're very willing to negotiate terms and meet you halfway and that sort of thing. And I think that's a good sign. If you can have a good conversation with them and like them, it's a lot easier going forward, because you're gonna have to be working with these people for a long time. You don't want to in 3 or 4 years when the pressure's on, be fighting with these people. So I do think they have their place, definitely. But people do have to be selective about who they want to work with.
Yeah, that's it. Definitely do your due diligence, because it is especially for you guys, like working 3 years on a project and then just partnering up with any old person. It's it could be the end of it. So you chose well with that. But that's another good point. It's like the game dev, the whole game scene is basically like the tip of the iceberg, and there's all these other factors below the waterline that have to be in place in order to make it a success or make it float, really. So very good points there, Gustav.
Definitely. It's not easy.
Moving on to I suppose the things that you guys are all over. What software did you guys make Goblins through?
So our engine of choice is Unreal. So we're using Unreal Engine 4. It's fantastic. It was a decision we made early on. Our programmers at the time and now are C++ programmers, so we wanted that kind of control. And also just the games look beautiful, and I personally love Unreal. I prefer Unreal over Unity. I've used Unity at different studios and stuff, and it was definitely a choice that we could have made, but due to our C++ and also just there's something about Unreal's interface that just makes it more accessible from an art point of view, and it gives you so much power just straight up, and it's to me more legible. So I'm a huge fan of Unreal, and the community's been fantastic. The Unreal community. I've been on their interview at GDC, on their show for Twitch, and they've posted our stuff. We've been on their pick of the day, and we've been spotlighted by them. And they've just been really great and supportive, and I've met the Epic staff and the Unreal staff and so on. So it's a really great community, and we feel like we're a part of that community. So definitely a choice we're happy with. And then we use Blender to do all our 3D. So I'm a big fan of Blender again as well. I've used Maya, I've used Max. But myself and the artist that did most of the art, he's a Blender expert. Like, he's a machine on it. So it gives us really high speed turnover of production, really great results. It's free. You can't argue with that. It's a fantastic model. We try and support it as much as we can. We tweet about it.
That's good.
I hashtag them. They've asked me to do to do a write up of our production pipeline, but I haven't had time. I promised them to do it, but I haven't had time. But yeah, and Blender and Unreal integrate really well. So yeah, that's our main production tools. Then there's lots of other things like Handsoft and Perforce and whatever, but that's kind of boring. So
yeah, I mean, I suppose one of the things I struggle with personally is timelines and stuff like that, and that's sometimes the boring tools are the ones that keep us on track a little bit.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm a producer, so I'm big on schedules and timelines and estimates and stuff. So I've got Handsoft running for our project, and everybody hates me on the project because they don't update it, and I get annoyed with them. But yeah, we definitely have all that.
So I mean, you said before you're pretty much just gonna push PC on this. Are you going to go to Mac as well, or just PC?
Oh yeah, so definitely Mac and Linux is on the cards. Again, Unreal allows us to ship to that pretty easily. It was originally one of our Kickstarter goals, but we didn't get to that stretch goal. But that doesn't mean we're not going to do it. It just means that we're going to do it after we've launched. We're focusing it because again, it's one of those things that people go, yeah, but you're doing Unreal, you can just publish for it and then you're done. You don't have to, but it's a little bit, you got to test as well. So if you commit to doing for Mac, it means you have to buy, 2 or 3 different Macs that are different at different performance levels. And then you have to do testing on them, and that's, it's an expenditure and it's time, and you have to create a separate build for that, and then you have 2 different, repositories, and it's more work than just publishing for that other platform. So once we've released, and we're at a good place, then we can focus on the other platforms, so Mac and Linux. And then, we'll slowly do localization for all the different languages over time as well, as that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a very good strategy. And I see that with a lot of these mobile developers. They always release with either Android or iOS, and then they'll move on to the other kind of platform later on. That's a good way to do it, just to gauge interest as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can sort out a lot of things that way.
Something I probably hadn't considered as well in what you just said then is the testing aspect of things across multiple platforms.
Yeah.
I mean, when you said it makes sense, right? Like, obviously you have to.
Yeah.
But from a consumer standpoint, you wouldn't have even considered that you would have to go and buy 3 different Macs or,
and a MacBook.
You just go, oh.
Yeah, it's for in India, it can be a big expense, if when you're running as cheap as you can, and you often can't even pay yourself to then go spend $10,000 on a few extra PCs that you're never going to use just for testing. It's a big investment.
Speaking of that testing, do you employ testers, or just do primarily just yourselves and friends and family and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously do a lot ourselves, but the backers that we had from the Kickstarter, they've been great in giving us feedback. We had the alpha up on itch.io for a while, and we had a few hundred people buying it there, and they gave us feedback, and we did some QA with them, which was good. We also have a Discord server now, so we have quite a few people there that give us feedback every time we release a build. The ones that have it. The ones that don't have it complain at me every day for not having it. But no, the partner we signed with as well, one of the benefits we get from that is they have a professional QA team. So they've done a few rounds, and we do a few rounds, and as we move forward, we'll keep doing more and more rounds of testing with them. So yeah.
Well, I'll give you some feedback after the podcast. My little playthrough. But again, it's another aspect that you don't consider, or maybe new indie devs wouldn't consider as they're making a game.
Yeah. I think the value of QA is lost, even on some people that have been in the industry a while. They don't, if they're not on the production side of things, I don't think they necessarily understand the value of it. But yeah, it's integral, because you need a person that's dedicatedly looking for bugs and finding bugs and knowing how to report them and how to reproduce them is really important, because the one problem with feedback is people go, I played it and this happened, and I'm like, okay, cool, but what happened what happened just before that? What screen resolution you're playing? What's your specs on your machine? What version of Windows do you have? What version of DirectX do you have? Did you save before that? Did you save after? Can you send me a save file? Can you it's so tricky because 100 things could have led to that one bug, and to reproduce it, to in order to test it professionally, you have to be able to reproduce it consistently, and that's not easy to do, or at least it's quite tedious and time consuming. So it's the advantage of having professional QA people is you get all of that and they know how to report it, and then you fix the bug, or you think you fixed it, and you send it back, and then they try and reproduce it again under the same conditions. And if that then doesn't happen, then finally the bug is closed. So
squashed for now.
Yeah, for now. So it's definitely worthwhile, and studios that have QA departments in them, I really value the QA people. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it came to my attention when you were saying there were like a couple of 100 people testing the game out in packs, and it's like another factor. Just thinking about the user, because people aren't the same and they'll do some random stuff sometimes, so it's a good way to test your games with that kind of exhibition.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that kind of testing gives you is, even professional QA guys they'll behave pretty much like a consumer, or somebody that's familiar with games. But when you put it in front of somebody that is just casually looking at it, and maybe they haven't played a game. We've had lots of people see our game and come over, and they're like, I haven't really played PC games since Age of Empires, but this looks interesting. And I'm like, holy crap, that's a long time ago. And then, they kind of struggle with the camera, or little things we take for granted. They struggle with, and then it's not so much a bug with the game, it's like a usability thing, or language that we develop. If you're playing city builder games, there's certain things you expect, like camera controls, shortcut keys. There's little things that you're going to expect, whereas a new person might do something and you're like, whoa, why are you doing that? And it teaches you a couple of new things, so it's pretty good. It's very useful.
I suppose because I start a game and it's like, do you want to do the tutorial? And I'm like, no, I do not want to do the tutorial. I'm just going to wing it. Yeah. But I suppose you need that sort of in there for, like you said, for those people who haven't played.
Yeah, because it might be the first city builder game they ever play. Like you don't think about that. You're like, oh yeah, people that like city building games will hopefully like my game. But somebody out there, it's going to be their first city builder game, and they don't have they don't have the language or the vocabulary learned from other games, so you have to be the one that introduces them to that genre, and you have to teach that stuff. So
the custodians.
Yeah.
Well, there's a new Age of Empires coming out apparently.
I know. I'm very excited about that.
Rocking my world. I'm supposed to be playing all these indie games, and I'm like, new Age of Empires, huh? I mean, I suppose that links back to one of the other questions I was going to ask is, were there any, major roadblocks that stand out in your mind as to, there's been quite a struggle to overcome for you guys creating this game?
I mean, money has been an ongoing problem. We had an investor for a while, and then we had the Kickstarter funds, which helped. And now we I've put in all my personal savings and, team members have put in their personal savings and time. So that's definitely a pressure and an ongoing struggle. It's very expensive to make games, so making this has definitely been hard on that. But other than that, hurdles, just time, the amount of time and the amount of sacrifice you have to make. Like I said, for more than half the game's development, like most of the time, I've had to work full time at a studio. And so, you know, my wife is incredibly patient and loving and supportive, and you know, I work all the time. I work Saturdays and Sundays all day. I work every night. I come home. I work. I'm always working. We sacrifice doing holidays or going away. You know, when a holiday comes up, I'm excited because I get to work a bunch of days in a row, uninterrupted. So that's a big sacrifice as well. You know. For our friends and family around us, they don't get to see us much, and they have to be very supportive and patient, and you know, that's always tough, because, you know, for us making it, you know, we love what we do, you know, most of the time. Sometimes it's like, oh god, I have to finish this stupid thing, but you know, most of the time we really love what we do and we're passionate about it, and it doesn't feel that bad for us. But I think for the people around us, they don't get to see us as much as they maybe would like to, or, you know, they see us suffering or stressing or being unhealthy, and, you know, it's tough on them as well. So, it's a labor of love, so that can be tough sometimes, I think.
Yeah, it's always awesome when you have a partner or family or friends who understand what you're trying to go through, and they can see that passion in your work as well, and they'll just help you along with a bit of support like that. So good.
That's it. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered a fair bit. I don't know if you have any more questions, Eric, that you wanted to bring up.
I think we've covered a lot here, Gustav. I think we should let you get some rest, or if you're just going to go back to coding.
Yeah, I got to finish this trailer. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that.
I was looking at the older trailer, and you know, a lot of games really highlight those massive races, like your orcs, your undead, you know, trolls and humans, and then in your previous trailer, seeing the goblin on a throne was pretty funny to me. Like, it's the unexpected hero kind of thing. Yeah, so that was well put.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, the goblins are definitely the heroes of our game. They're definitely what everyone's falling in love with. They're very cute and they're very likable. So it's very awesome. And hopefully we can finish this game pretty soon, and get it out into early access, and hope more people will see it and more people will love it, and then we can, you know, build it from there.
Yeah. All the best luck with releasing it, and I look forward to playing the finished product to be sure.
Yeah, thanks so much. Right. Thanks for your time, guys, and if, you know, to people listening, hopefully they'll go and wishlist it. We're on Steam. The page is up there. And also at the moment we're on IndieDB. We're in the top 100 for indie games for 2017. So if people want to vote for us, that'll be awesome. That'll really help us. So yeah, and otherwise we're on Twitter, Facebook. We have a new website. We're all over the place. So everybody should follow us and talk about our stuff.
Thanks everyone for listening to our podcast. If you wanted to check out the Goblins of Elderstone, it's available on Steam. And if you could wishlist that would help the guys out. And they're also around on Twitter at Lost Goblin. So if you want to follow them and for more exciting information and release dates. If anyone wants to come on the show and chat about the game that they're currently developing, you can hit us up at Aussie Devs on Twitter. As also our email is aussiedevs@gmail.com. So thanks again for listening, and I hope everyone had a happy, safe holiday.